Someone was whispering this student's name from behind the shelves of the school library in a creepy voice. What happened on the last day of school will haunt you forever. What this janitor's humming do to this boy will give you nightmares. These are real stories sent by viewers like you, haunted by their school experiences. So turn down the lights, lock your doors and get ready. School's out forever, and the real nightmares are just starting. Our first story takes us to the dimly lit halls of Northgate High, an old brick building with a long and creepy history. The school was already old when Mark, a former student, attended in the late 80s. Mark remembers the janitor, a grumpy, lonely man named Old Man Willie. Willie was always around, pushing his squeaky mop bucket, his face hidden under a worn-out baseball cap. Students whispered about Willie, saying he never left the school and slept in the boiler room among the hissing pipes and flickering lights. Mark and his friends thought these were just silly stories, but there was something about Willie, a sadness that clung to him, that always made Mark uneasy. One chilly autumn evening, Mark was alone in the school library, the last one there for a study session. He could hear the wind howling outside, rattling the old windows. As he gathered his books, he noticed a light flickering under the door of the janitor's closet, hidden in a dark corner. Curious, Mark walked over to the door. He heard a faint humming from inside, a low, sad sound. He slowly opened the door, his heart pounding. The closet was empty except for a flickering light bulb hanging from the ceiling, casting long shadows on the dusty shelves. But the humming continued, coming from the walls. Suddenly, the humming stopped. Mark felt a cold shiver down his spine. He tried to leave, but the door wouldn't open. It was like an invisible hand held it shut. Panic filled him as he rattled the doorknob, but it wouldn't turn. He was trapped. Then he heard it, a slow, raspy voice whispering his name from the darkness behind the shelves. Mark! The voice was weak and sad, but it sent chills down Mark's spine. He pushed against the door again and again, but it wouldn't move. Just when he thought he would be trapped forever, the door suddenly swung open as if by an unseen force. Mark stumbled back, his heart racing. He got up and ran out of the library, not looking back. He never saw Old Man Willie again. The next morning, Mark learned that the old janitor had died in his sleep. The cause of death was unknown. Mark never told anyone what he heard that night in the janitor's closet, but he could never shake the feeling that Old Man Willie was still there, his sad humming echoing through the empty halls of Northgate High. Our next story takes us to the bright but strangely creepy halls of Sunnyside Elementary. Don't be fooled by the happy name. This school hides a dark secret that has scared students for years. At the end of the hallway, past the colourful murals and cheerful bulletin boards, is a row of old dented lockers with chipped paint. One locker stands out. Locker number 13, with its scratched and dull metal door, looks very different from the others. The local legend says that locker number 13 belonged to a girl named Sarah, a happy student who disappeared one afternoon and was never seen again. Some say Sarah had a terrible accident, while others think something more sinister happened, something hidden in the school walls. Whatever the truth, Sarah's story lived on in whispers among the students, always linked to that one locker at the end of the hall. Over the years, the legend of Sarah and locker number 13 grew, with strange things happening around the locker. Students said they heard whispers and sobs coming from inside, even when the locker was empty. Others claimed to see Sarah's reflection in the locker's surface, her eyes now hollow and sad. The school staff, trying to calm everyone down, sealed locker number 13 shut, welding the door closed and painting over it, hoping to erase Sarah's memory. But it didn't work. The whispers continued, getting louder and more insistent. The locker, even with its sealed door, seemed to give off a creepy energy that filled the air. One day, a group of students decided to test the legend. They gathered around locker number 13, trying to hide their fear. One by one, they touched the cold painted metal, daring Sarah's ghost to show itself. As the last student pulled his hand away, a cold wind blew through the hallway, turning off the lights and leaving them in darkness. Screams echoed as the students tried to escape the darkness and the presence they had awakened. When the lights came back on, the students were gone, vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the faint smell of lavender perfume and an eerie silence. Our last story takes us to Crestwood Academy, a boarding school on a windy hill overlooking the small town of Hollow Creek. In the dimly lit classrooms and echoing halls of Crestwood, our story of shadows and unseen horrors begins. Emily, a former student, remembers the strange events of her senior year. Emily was a curious student, fascinated by the paranormal and eager to learn beyond her textbooks. One night, while studying in the library, Emily found some old journals hidden in a dusty corner. The journals belonged to Daniel, a troubled student from decades ago. Daniel's journals were filled with disturbing sketches and stories of strange events at the school. He wrote about shadowy figures, whispering voices from the walls, and a growing sense of dread. Emily, though skeptical at first, became engrossed in Daniel's terrifying accounts. She started noticing strange things herself, flickering shadows, cold spots, and the feeling of being watched. One night, while working late in her dorm room, Emily had a chilling experience. She saw a strange distortion in the shadows cast by the flickering lights. The shadows began to twist and form grotesque shapes. The figures moved unnaturally, like puppets controlled by an unseen hand. Emily watched in terror as the shadow figures moved silently. She wanted to scream and run, but was frozen in fear. Suddenly the lights flickered violently, and the room went dark. Emily gasped, her heart pounding. When the lights came back on, the shadow figures were gone. Shaken, Emily knew she couldn't ignore what she had seen. She had discovered something dark and sinister, connected to Daniel and his journals. Determined to find the truth, Emily researched Crestwood's history, looking through old yearbooks and archives. Her search led her to a hidden room in the attic filled with old furniture and a dusty easel. On the easel was a canvas covered in dust. Emily wiped away the dust to reveal a chilling self-portrait of Daniel, his face in a silent scream. The shadows in the portrait seemed to move, just like the ones she had seen. They writhed and twisted, animated by an unseen force. Emily felt a cold hand on her shoulder. She gasped and turned around, but no one was there. The room was empty, except for the haunting portrait of Daniel. Emily knew she had found something truly evil. She fled the attic. Daniel's terrified face burned into her memory. Emily never spoke of that night, but it left a lasting mark on her. She knew some secrets are best left buried, some doors better left unopened. 3 schools, 3 scary stories, a sad janitor's humming, a locker with a sad history, and shadows that seem alive. These stories, sent by viewers like you, show that some places stay creepy even after dark. If you liked these scary school stories, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications for more true horror stories from the internet. And next time you walk past a dark schoolyard, remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones whispered in the hallways, waiting for someone brave enough to listen. School may be out, but the nightmares, they never really end.